Good afternoon, Eco TV listeners, both in the Gambia and outside of the Gambia. This is Larry Sise with my colleague Lamin Mane. We are back on Thursday again to do another rendition of a series of issues affecting the country. Let's recognize the new developments in the studio. I think the studio is improving with some very serious state-of-the-art equipment that is transmitting this program. Thank you very much to Usman and his team.
And Sharif.
Sharif and his team. I mean Usman
yes.
in the US and,
That's right.
and his team, Sharif, led by Sharif on the ground, and all their staff. Today we have 3 issues we wanted to talk about. But let me give the mic to Lamin Mane to introduce himself and say a few things before we get into the gist of the program.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our dear listeners, wherever you're listening to us from. Back again at Eco TV. As Larry said, quite a lot of impressive developments in the studio. And we are grateful for that, and in addition to the wonderful staff they have here. So Usman in the US, Sharif here, Usman Bai, and all of your team, we're really grateful for the great work you're doing and the opportunity we have to discuss with the Gambians the issues that are dear to our hearts. Thank you very much, and happy to be back.
Good, thank you, Lamin. As I said, we have 3 issues. One of them will be very exhaustive with background documentation as reference to the topic. Topic number 1 will be the parliamentary investigation into the assets of Jammeh, former President Jammeh. Topic number 2 will be corruption in the Gambia and the gala protest of July 23, 2025. That was yesterday's protest. And Barrow's claim in Janjambure that he wants to score 75% in the next elections. We will talk about that and see why he's saying what he's saying. So let's start with the parliamentary investigation into the Jammeh assets, and Lamin will lead and I will complement as we go along. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Larry. The parliamentary investigation into the disposal of the Jammeh assets is ongoing, and we are seeing some very interesting interrogations and examinations at the National Assembly. We are particularly happy that it's been televised live, so that the Gambians can hear and follow what's going on regarding this investigation. It is extremely important that we Gambians hear directly from the protagonists of this issue what happened, why it happened, when it happened, because a lot of things have been said. And it's important that we hear it from them and that the legal counsels really prod them to find out what has happened and why it has happened. So we're grateful for that, because I particularly was not very keen on this investigation, because as far as I'm concerned, the events that took place have already been documented or should have been documented. So all that the government needed to do was to release the documents on what happened. They know how many assets were impounded. They know how many of them have been sold, at what price, to whom, when. They know that. That has been documented. Or at least should have been documented, and I believe it has been. They know what was remaining, what has not yet been alienated, and why, and give us an idea of the costs involved. Because the idea of this whole Jammeh Commission was to recover what has been stolen from the Gambia by Yahya Jammeh and his close associates. So we wanted to get back our money to be able to invest in the country's development. Once that commission completed its work, that is the Jammeh Commission, they produced a comprehensive report which was given to Parliament, to the executive, to the president. So he had a full report. The government did a white paper on it and accepted virtually all of the conclusions, with a few exceptions, concerning people who are supposed to have been sanctioned. But apart from that, essentially, the whole thing was accepted. So they knew what was in the reports. They knew what needed to be published, but nobody did. Next thing was make the country aware of what has been sold to whom and for how much, so that we know how much money has accrued from those sales and what money was used for. Because this is something that belongs to us. If it is sold for any reason, and what was sold quickly, apparently the reason they gave was that they could have perished. So they didn't want them alienated, because like livestock and vehicles which are becoming abandoned, and then that would require a significant amount of refurbishments and improvements and all the other works involved, you know. So they decided to sell those quickly so they don't deteriorate and depreciate. And for the case of livestock, they don't get killed and moved away and, you know, lost to the country. That's understandable. But when you do that, you do it in a way that everybody can see transparency in the processes involved, and the amounts of money involved can be accounted for quickly. When you do that sort of sale, you should have a floor price, that is the asking price. I will not sell it below this amount. And that again should be based on a serious evaluation of the assets. Once that evaluation is done, you sell it at that price, starting at the asking price. And then the auction can raise the price higher. And in fact, I was happy to hear Mr. Kuran give the same explanation on TV, that was what happened. So this is what should have happened, and then you know how much you're getting for every piece of, you know, asset, for every asset and every item. We know that, because we should know how much the government is asking, how much is getting from the bidding. That way you can raise the prices, and that is to the benefit of the Gambians. Once that is done, we should be able to get a clear indication of the amounts that the government has received. And you plow that into development. You plow that into buying assets for the country. You plow that into capital investments for the country. Some invariably will go into recurrent expenditure, but the bulk of it should go into capital expenditure to be able to accrue resources for the country. But we haven't seen any of that. The reports were not given out. When people asked for it, they said, oh, well, we don't want to embarrass the buyers. Why would you embarrass them? Yeah. They bought assets owned by the state. So they knew what they were doing. And the state knew what was doing by selling it to them. So why should anybody be embarrassed for that? If you're embarrassed about that, you shouldn't buy them. Because unless something illegal happened, there is no reason to embarrass. If they were sold properly, following the procedures, there was no need. So once that's done, give out a report on what was sold and the amount involved, and we move on. But that was not done, and they just kept it like a state secret until the youth came out and started demonstrating. We asked for it in the opposition. Other institutions asked for it. Civil society asked for it. Nothing happened until when the youths came out and went on a demonstration. That was when they eventually decided to release the report. And even there, they released it in bits and pieces.
No comprehensive
report. No report that was signed by anybody. We wanted to see a comprehensive report signed by the people involved. So we know this is authentic. It has been approved, it has been signed, and this is what we have. But we didn't get that. So the investigation in Parliament, for me, was like they're stalling again, because they've done that so many times. But thank God this time, I am pleasantly surprised to see that the investigation is public, is televised, and is live. So we hope that that will go to the very end, and nobody will be spared. No stones will be left unturned, and at the end of the inquiry, we'll have a comprehensive report on what happened, who did what, and the amounts that were there or what have been siphoned off, so that appropriate measures can be taken. So we're looking forward to that, and we hope that that will be the case. So I'll leave it at that for the moment, Lamin.
Yes, Lamin, just to complement that comprehensive overview, for those of you who may be interested, the Jammeh Commission has done a fairly good comprehensive coverage of the sittings of the commission, and they have comprehensively documented the evidence that they had presented to them. So I want to highlight a few of those reports as backup to what Lamin has just said. And for those of you out there who are interested, are following the parliamentary inquiry, these are reference source materials that you can refer to get a good handle on what went down with the Jammeh Commission and its reporting. The Commission submitted 9 volumes of reports to the President and his cabinet, 9 volumes. And in those, after reviewing those 9 volumes, the government did a white paper, as you have said. And that white paper has accepted 99% of what was recommended by the Commission. They cherry-picked certain items in terms of items affecting individuals. For whatever reason there is, they did that. But for viewers out there, listeners out there who want to follow this thing with a comprehensive overview of what went on, I want to refer you to these few documents. The Jammeh Commission's reports, volume 1 and 2, deal with the financial dealings and corruption of the Jammeh regime as they have been revealed in the bank accounts. Volume 1 and 2 are financial dealings. Volume 3 contains the special listed properties. All the properties that they were presented to the Commission, most of them with leases and sketch maps, are found in volume 3. So nobody should tell us we don't know where the properties are. In fact, I believe the Commission should call the Speaker of this National Assembly to testify, because when these reports came out, he said, and I hope other people have heard him, that there are certain assets of Jammeh that were not covered by the Commission. So they should call him to testify and clarify those things. So volume 3 is special listed properties. Volume 4 contains all of Jammeh's companies and charities that he has created. And that volume 4 has parts 1, 2, and 3 to them. It's a huge volume, but it gives you the craftiness of how these companies were created, how monies were shifted from the state-owned enterprises, from the central bank, and funneled through these companies to make them multi-million-dollar companies. So we are talking multi-million-dollar companies. Volume 9, which is one of the volumes that I am passionate about. As I said the last time, I keep it next to my bed. I read it at night, sometimes before going to bed. Volume 9 deals with the individual responsibilities for civil and criminal wrongs. This is the volume that contains all the people that had enabled Jammeh to plunder the economy. And they are named. The evidence, whatever evidence was shown in terms of who has done what, when, and where, have been done. There are instances where people withdrew almost $35 million on Jammeh's behalf. Others withdrew millions of US dollars, euros, and pound sterling for Jammeh. This volume 9 has all of them listed by name. I think the listing was done in alphabetical order. Yeah. And then it went very comprehensively into who has done what. The last piece of document that I would refer you to is the government's own white paper. As we have said, the white paper is there. About 99% of it have been accepted by the government for implementation, but they cherry-picked certain parts of it which affect certain individuals and did not implement those things. So let Gambians know that The evidence is there. The information is there. Let us not accept the government to tell us we don't know what happened. This week, the Jammeh cattle have been in social media. People are saying he owned in excess of 3,000 heads of cattle, 3,000 heads of cattle. But at the end of the day, what the record shows is around 600 heads of cattle that eventually were accounted for. The rest, unaccounted for. The vehicles. Some vehicles were left here, others were taken to Mauritania, I understand, others were taken to Dakar, and nobody knows who is driving those vehicles, if they are being driven already. So the evidence is there, the information is there. Let us just delve into it to keep these people accountable. You know the proverbial saying, there is no honor among thieves. Jammeh stole massively from us, and these individuals have taken all his properties and shared it among themselves for all intents and purposes. Otherwise, with this comprehensive type of documentation, nobody should tell Gambians we don't know
where the money is.
Where the money is. We don't know where his properties are. We don't know where the cars are. That is just railroading Gambians. And the proverbial information, they are gaslighting and pivoting. So we should hold them accountable for that. The next topic, Lamin, is the issue of corruption in the Gambia and Gala's protest of yesterday, 25th of July, 2025, which you and I have attended. We tried as much as possible to not be frontal, but it's a public space with cameras, and eventually we were captured in it. But we went to the protest to give moral support to the young people. We as they call us PAI, we have done our bit, and it's up to the youths of this country to now say enough is enough about this corruption. And Gala has a very strong case, like all of us have and have been talking about, to insist that there is a stop to corruption. I want to highlight a few corrupt issues, which is in the public domain, and most of it I got in the last 3 or 4 years from audit reports, so that Gambians can have a good context to what Gala was trying to do yesterday. And let's start with the First Ladies Foundation, where $35 million or dollars is, because I don't know whether
$35 million is.
That $35 million is were deposited in her account, and according to the president himself, they don't know where to put it, and then deposited it into her account. For me, that's what opened the floodgates of corruption in this country, because I think it was in 2018 when that happened. The Fatmataba Foundation, $35 million Gambian dollars. Secure Report. You remember Secure Report?
I do.
When you go to the airport, in and out, you pay. The contract is $160 million. Banjul Roads, that one, $2.4 billion is equivalent to, at the time, $41 million to pave the Banjul roads, and we all know what that led to. It led to massive flooding on the streets of Banjul. This year I haven't had any flooding yet. Last year also, so maybe they fixed some of the areas that were flooding. But the Banjul roads is a horrendous project that cost the economy $2.4 billion or 41 million equivalent at the time. Then you remember the COVID-19 funding at the Ministry of Health.
Yep.
600 million Gambian dollars is what we are talking about. And everybody is quiet about these issues now. The GPA, Port Authority, just one unit, that ticketing unit, That had an issue of 300 million Gambian dollars. It was investigated by the police. They tried to minimize it between the police and the Justice Ministry. Nothing has been done about that one also. The NDMA, National Disaster Management Agency, also cannot account for 100 million Gambian dollars. The National Assembly had intervened. Nothing is happening. The media contract, the 40 million that was dished out to the various media houses, that too is just public money given to people to propaganda for the government. The $41 million renovation of the airport. You remember the airport was renovated.
Exactly.
And it was renovated, according to them, for 41 million Gambian dollars. Certain parts of the airport were flooding. I think it has been fixed now. And certain parts of the airport do not even have adequate air conditioning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The OIC roads, oh dear. These roads, I think everybody knows about that. Lamin has done a fantastic job dealing with the Ministry of Infrastructure to flesh out this thing. I don't need to go into the details anymore, only to say that under normal circumstances, a road like that would have cost around 1 million per kilometer.
Exactly.
But according to them, it costs $6 million per kilometer. Not 1 million, 6 million.
6.8 million.
6.8 million, almost $7 million per kilometer.
And after that, there was an additional 45 million, which took it to 9.8 million per kilometer.
Per kilometer.
Yeah.
So then the $100 million loan for the OIC cars. I think that one also, we talked about it. But Gambia is like that. All these big things are happening. When they happen, we talk about it, and then people relax, and then life continues. I think people should recall these 100 million OIC cars and how those cars were bought. We see them being driven around town. These are very expensive cars. Most likely, the prices have been inflated. Most likely, they didn't cost what was reported for them to have been bought for. Remember the Social Security Housing Finance Corporation's 9.8 million euro money that they gave to one car dealership to import buses. 9.8 million euros. That, at the time, that was around 715 million Gambian dollars to one individual company to source cars, buses for...
Without proper bidding.
Yeah, without proper bidding, the kind of transparency that is required. And then the $63 million renovation of the Vice President's residence. Remember, the Vice President's residence since 2017 has been renovated twice. This is the third renovation, and they said it cost 63 million. Now, the national debt, 119 billion, which is about 85% of GDP. And this 85%, I still think it's on the low side. It's much more than that. And then the allocation of the Chief Justice residence to the President. For me, that caps the corruption that Gala was all about yesterday. And for those of you who are saying, this corruption is this and that, let's put these things into context. And I haven't even spoken about the $100 million that the central bank gave to 10 companies to source different food items and petroleum products for the country. 100 million US from the central bank's reserves. The government gave Jar Oil, I think it was 50 million.
50 million US dollars. 50
million US dollars, which the government underwrote. Although now, some time ago, the reporting on social media was that part of that was returned, but we don't know which part was returned, how much was returned, when it was returned. So these are all issues, and then the 75 million currency swap that was signed by the governor of the central bank on the 27th of June, 2025. We talked about $75
million is dollars.
Yes, it's US dollars. Yeah. We talked about that several times. We thought it was dead, but then it was signed on June 27, 2025. Then there is the sale of Megabank. Mm-hmm. You can go on and on and on and on. You will, the list is not going to be exhaustive. Yeah. So that is the context in which Gala made the protest. This is a situation where the country's national wealth is being squandered by a handful of people with a whole lot of impunity of action, and there are no consequences for it. And Gala is saying the corruption has to stop. We've been talking about these things for 5 years now. Yeah. And people will listen, it dies down, and then they go and do another thing, sort of thing. So Gala is following our footsteps in saying this corruption must stop, because the national wealth is being squandered by a handful at the expense of the rest of us. That is the context in which the Gala protest yesterday was all about. Mm-hmm. I wish the police would have given them a bit of time for them to go into these issues item by item, to say to people, this is what is happening. Now, finally, I will end this thing with saying, you know, the squandering of our national wealth is one thing. That's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is this oil and gas issue that we talked about last week. The more you do research on it, the more you realize that we are sitting on a gold mine of oil and gas. And the government is not transparent enough to come and tell us what is going down. And then you juxtapose that to the issue of these rare earth minerals in our continental shelf. We have talked about that also in various platforms. To say there are rare earth minerals in our exclusive economic zone in the sea. They have, there are indications that, allegations that they have actually signed a contract with a Norwegian company to explore these rare earth minerals, and we are not aware of it. Now, that should raise our antennas on two fronts. Front one is that these are our sovereign national wealth items that are being contracted
targeted for exploitation.
For exploitation, without citizens knowing about it. The second side of it is when you look at sand mining and this black sand mining that is going on the Combo coastal areas, you realize that these guys don't give any attention to the environmental damage that these mining enterprises are causing the country. So we should be very concerned about our oil not being transparent and rare earth minerals not being transparently discussed among us. I will stop there.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. And that was a pretty comprehensive list of things that happen. Even though with this government we cannot be comprehensive because it's happening all the time. Because we could add to that list the $447 million which were given to NAWEC over a period of 8 years to improve its operation. And $447 million to NAWEC should have meant we could have produced at least 400 megawatts of power. And that would have given us all the power we need and even allow us to export over 250 megawatts of power. Sell it to the West Africa Power Pool or to other countries directly. We could have done that. You know, it reminds us also of all the money they said they sunk into agriculture, from the different loans, from IFAD, from the African Development Bank, etc., World Bank, which have produced absolutely no result for this country. And all of these are loans we're going to pay back. You put us in a situation of debt distress by contracting all these loans, and we do not see anything that you have developed from that that is tangible, that we can say, at least we've got this. Or the few cases where we got something, they were hugely overpriced, like the OIC roads, where they spent almost $10 million per kilometer of highway. It's a world record. And they tell us they spent $50 million to do 50 kilometers of substandard secondary roads, none of which cost even $200,000 per kilometer. But they told us they spent $1 million per kilometer, which is what you do for a highway. They spend it on substandard secondary roads. And none of these things are grants. They are loans we're going to have to pay back. And those roads are deteriorating already. The secondary roads, most of them have already deteriorated, and they are going to continue deteriorating over the next year or two, and we'll have to redo those things all over again. So the money has gone into sunk cost. I keep saying, even for Battle Harding, today it looks beautiful, but when the problems start coming in, we will realize the mistake we have made by allowing these people to continue squandering money. But it will come to pass.
And it won't be too long.
Yeah, and hopefully they won't be here to try to mask those problems. You've got all of those things. But in addition, on top of all of that, there are many more we can come to, but we don't have the material time to do it. But we need to flag also, alongside those cases of blatant corruption, where the resources have been diverted or where have been overbilling, etc. In addition to all of those, we have the one-time sale of our state strategic assets. This is the government that mortgaged our bridge, the Senegambia Bridge, for 25 years for $100 million when we could have received minimum $300 million. But they mortgaged it for $100 million. In addition to that, we are told we cannot develop infrastructure that will compete that bridge. So not only you've mortgaged our bridge at a very, very low and unacceptable price, but you have even mortgaged our sovereignty to do what we need to do in this country. We cannot do it. You've even mortgaged that, right? You've mortgaged our bridge. You went out, you concessioned our airport. Well, you're concessioning it now, you're walking towards that. But you've concessioned our port for 30 years. For 30 years, where we'll be getting 20% of the proceeds. And the co-contracting party will get 80%. Particularly scandalous for the case of the Banjul port, which we have already developed. So Alberta is bringing nothing, absolutely nothing in terms of funding to that bridge, to that port. All they bring is a new management. But you still give them 80% and we take 20%.
And Alberic doesn't have a good track record in Guinea, at least.
Yeah, but even if they did, why would you give them 80% of something that we already built? It's like you're building your house and you give it to a real estate agent, say, I want you to let this for me. So when you let it, you take 80% of the rent and you give me only 20%. Which landlord would do that? Nobody. You pay them a commission on what they do. But you don't even need to do that. There are competent Gambians who could have run this port and run it very profitably.
And they have done it before.
They've done it before. Captain Salah and co.
Captain Salah, Jagana,
So you let
them, and all of those guys.
Exactly. So there are other Gambians who could have done this. But no. You let them go, you bring in people to do it at our expense. In addition to that, you concession out the building of a new port to them. Again, for the same 80-20%. But there is more to it, which we will find out and come to you about. You've done all of that in the name of the Gambia, without even informing us properly, without proper. It's so scandalous. And it's not just that. Now you're preparing to sell off Gamtel. Gamtel is going to go. The airport is going to go. Okay. These are structures which were built by preceding governments to allow us to get revenue and dividends from those companies and invest in the country's development. As I keep saying, Gamtel used to pay the civil service salaries for the whole country. But we've lost all of that. It's gone from being a hyper profitable company to a serious deficit carrying company.
It's a liability company now.
Yes. Yeah.
But guess what, Lamin? Somebody was telling me the amount of money they are planning to pay the staff to retrench them in preparation of this could have been invested to make the Gamtel a bit more profitable. Sorry.
Yeah, in fact, Gamtel should never have been privatized.
Yeah.
These are strategic companies that we own, which we can run and make them profitable. They keep telling, oh, no, the government is not known for running things properly. Good. Government doesn't run them properly if you appoint incompetent and corrupt people to run them. If you appoint the proper people, and you especially give them free hand to work and to do what they need to do, there are so many governments who could have turned any of these companies around. But you don't do that. You just let them, you run them into the ground and then have an excuse to sell them. Yeah. Oh, no, they make too much losses, you have to sell them off. You cannot do that. Now, on top of all of that, to conclude on that, because for these people there's so much we could to say, we don't have time to say it. On top of all of that, when you create all that mess, you go create commissions.
Yeah,
and you entrust them with the running of those institutions or whatever, and then you pay even more money to them. The State-Owned Enterprises Commission you create. When you have the ministries of finance, you have the you have the central bank, you have all of those institutions, and the boards which are running those institutions, which are looking at them. Why do you need to go create another institution to oversee them? There are only so many government institutions which are overseeing those parastatals. Why do you need to go and create another institution where you pay each commissioner minimum $120,000 per month?
A month, yeah.
And the chairs are in the region of $140-something thousand per month. For each of those commissioners, their salaries can pay at least 10 to 12 nurses every month.
Yeah, in the hospitals.
They can pay at least 10 to 15 police officers extra. They can pay at least 10 to 15 teachers extra. For each of those commissioners, their salaries alone. Now, on top of that, you have the vehicles you give them, the fuel you give them, the household stuff you give them, and all other perks on top of that. And, recently GRA has been saying that anybody who has fringe benefits will pay for the fringe benefits except the government employees. Yeah. So you give them all those fringe benefits. So you give them a relatively small salary and huge allowances and fringe benefits, which they don't pay any tax on. So that is adding insult to injury. That was the case of the State Enterprises Commission. That was the state of the ATI, Access to Information Commission. They're just creating commissions just around the clock, just to give money to their friends and cronies. Why can't you plow that money into those institutions and make them work? All the money that's being paid to those commissioners, if you put it in those companies to make them run properly and give it a proper management, you don't need to create those commissions. Yeah. So this is what we're facing in this country. So the corruption is endemic in this Barrow government. And that is why we got to the situation of Gala going out to demonstrate. But Gala should not limit their demonstration to the stolen Jammeh assets. There is much more to it than that.
Yeah, this list.
And I understand that they are going to go. So we went out, as you said yesterday, to support these youth because we thought that they are fighting a very noble cause. What they are doing is important for the country, and it's their future that is being mortgaged. Yeah. We are here to help them set the ground for them to move forward. But it's their future that's on the ground, that's on the line. So alhamdulillah, they went out and they protested, and they're going to keep protesting, they said. So we went out to give them moral support. We stayed in the background so as not to look like we're hijacking their demonstration. It is their demonstration. They decided this, and we just said to them, bravo, continue, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Okay, the final one, third and final one. President Barrow said in Janjambure last week that he intends to score 75% of the votes in the 2026 elections. When he said it, there was a lot of jokes made about it on social media from different platforms. I think we read it slightly differently in the sense that under conditions that we keep hammering home, and that is if there are free, fair, transparent elections in this country, Barrow cannot expect to win any elections at all, much less to score 75% of the votes. I think what he is laying the foundation for is that we said three things before in all the platforms. We will say them again to say his strategy, he has three strategies. Strategy number one is to buy the elections, spend a lot of money buying votes. Strategy number two is to steal the elections. But we also said Masembe has shown him how difficult it will be for him to steal or buy the elections. Strategy number three, and this is where this falls in, and that is to rig the elections to unreasonable levels, and people get out on the streets, social chaos is brought about, and he declares a state of emergency, he suspends the Constitution, and life continues. I hope I am wrong. I hope we are wrong about this, but for me, that is the intention. He's laying the foundation for Gambians to accept him winning a rigged election. This is, for me, this is my take on that.
Yeah, and he raises the bar for himself, his winning, to a point where we would say, oh no, if he won at that level or with that score, it cannot be because he has just failed to win. It's because simply, well, there might be a bit of a mistake here and there, but not enough to invalidate the election. That's what he's doing. Last time he said he won over 50% of the votes. Yeah. Now he's saying he will win over 75%. So they will say, oh, well, maybe there might be a few irregularities here and there, but nothing enough to invalidate the election. That's what he's trying. And there is no way that Barrow can win an election in this country, as you said, if it's fair, transparent. That's no way.
And free.
And free. That's no way. We have told him that what happened in 2021 will not happen again, and we are prepared for that. We have done our homework, and we are ready. That is why they could not get the victory they said they were going to get for the National Assembly elections, for the chairmanship and council elections. They could not, because we were ready for them. We also told them that there was no way they were going to win Masembe, because we are ready for it, and we won Masembe, and we declared the results in time. What Barrow is doing is preparing the Gambia for a massive fraud, as we said. Yeah. All of this registration they're going to do abroad for ID cards all fits into that strategy, and it will not prosper. We will stop it. We will not allow it to go on, because, you see, we are past the stage where we just accept anything and anything goes. We will not let them steal these elections. And they're so desperate about that, that's why his minister went about saying they will spill blood if they need to. Yeah. We will not allow them to spill blood. We have refused to spill blood in 2021 and in years before, because for us, the life and blood of the Gambians is sacred. We're going to protect that. We will not allow you to spill that blood. We will beat you fairly and squarely in the elections, and you will not cheat, you will not kill, you will not maim, you will not spill blood. Let that be clear to you. We are in a situation where the Gambians are ready for a change. Just like they were ready for a change in 2016, they're ready for a change again. Because the amount of suffering going on in this country, the Gambians know what they go through on a daily basis. There is no way they're going to sacrifice their own well-being for one person and his small team to leave it big while the Gambians are suffering and dying in abject poverty. That will not happen. But he knows that he cannot win. That's why they are doing all that they can to prepare the grounds for chaos. Yeah. Steal the elections. If you cannot steal it, as you say, declare state of emergency and
spill blood.
None of that will happen. It will not happen. Because now we're at a stage where if it is required, we go to gatsa. We will not turn the other cheek anymore. We will not allow you to spill blood, but we will stop you doing it. We will stop you doing it. And you will not rig these elections. Gambia has changed, and Barrow and his team should understand that. When they go make these unacceptable and untenable promises, they're just daydreaming. Or, in fact, better than that, they are trying to make Gambians accept what they're planning to do. Yeah. You remember in 2021, Ibrahim Silla, the current Minister of Infrastructure, Road Construction or whatever, he went out and said, we know what we have done. Yeah. And we have won these elections already. And when the elections are over, some people will say, how did this happen? Yeah. How did this happen? And people will regret. Because he was telling us live on TV that they have done what was required to steal the elections. Yeah. They had done all the fraud that they needed to do upstream, and they were certain of victory. That's what he was telling us. And when it happened, they went out jubilating. And President Barrow called them and said, oh, you did a wonderful job. He said it on live TV. It's available for us. We still have those comments. So that is what they are preparing again. 2021, they said, we know what we have done, and these elections are going to be won. Ibrahim Silla said that on live TV. Yeah, and today, Barrow is telling us we're going to win 75%. This time around, it will not work. Yeah,
and in the process, the minister's statement, spilling blood, supported by Barrow's statement in saying, I will do some bad things
yes,
if you push me. Now, all of that has to be contextualized to say, these people, for 2026, it's a do or die for them. Yeah. Because they said it. Yeah. They said it is a do or die for them. And for the president to come out and make a statement like that, a threatening statement like that, to be supported by a sitting cabinet minister spilling blood, we are not going to spill blood, as you have said, but we will not let them spill Gambian blood.
Yes.
That they can take
to
the bank. What this country needs and wants and requires and is demanding is free, fair, transparent elections so that we can bring back election integrity into our democratic process.
Larry, I don't know how much time we've got left because this is so important.
Almost done.
I think we need to say just a few minutes of that in the local languages.
Yeah.
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 Because Barrow came parent design when the election will sunya kubia sunya in 2021. 2021 Ibrahim Silla lota janna ko nyikon to nga minke ngaro nga minke ni election will banta dol si bulo podi sa fa nyinkata nyaadi le modu malala bari yewle ke sunya ro ko janna election fo be kel bi election banta ila sunya ro ya londi I parata wala ko de kenyam fana jari fana wala de ka fuko be 75% de sudla keme ko mete to tawro wala ndur sudla ata kela because ninkara 2021 to fulan janna ko de nga foyele and you better believe that 2020 fulan janna nyimba ko kan alte election o gagné no la nyimba ko kan ko de na man sunya roke andu sunya ro bantale so te election o gagné no la jang ko te kan to fa ya lonne wala mu nyin sila ko la sila nyabal kunate wala dal be nyim sawu be la ko fo be fo wala la kata carte di mo la outside banko e banta la kata ID card di min be gambe ko no jam ka ID card soton al kata di banta Togo gambe min be Togo ma mo tallulo si min be Gabon ma mo ke mo fon si min be Congo wala fi tan man bari fo na mo ke me dan tan mo you know amo fon amata mo ke me nin tallulo fon la min tata yin diamond ni non ani sanol walla ɓe togo tan gola fana the same thing laɓi jee mo dan tan laɓi jee
bara aɓe lamina aɓe o ɓe ke kan diaspora man voting right soto
hani ɓaren kam hen fo hanatol ɓena fayla jam fama niwol ɓe laño kan amamo wuri kilimo fan aussi
exactly
ok bari manta je ɓur kaw registre pour kada wona carte o fay jande e ka min ke wala pour que moldudina systéme o kono ke registre ke dundi systéme o kono ngamin fo no Yaya Jammeh la kuuto Yaya Jammeh mo keme wuli keme sa womin dundi systéme o kono yiɓe wala kan côté ke wala ne ka fo 75% wala ka pour ka moldundi systéme o kono pour si carte o fay ɓayti ɓiga carte o fay kata ka loka carte o fay de hani ɓi kawke yemin dundi systéme o kono ka wala talantala resource ko itol yalo ye minken tolo ngalo ye minke aman jarga ɗum be fo jam bari so min faale wote kela côté ke aussi woye koyalima alsi mone tañoyata kela min ñantala koot ñene mbita kootle min ñanta kela ɓe kelale batal tañi élection o suñala jan côté ke 2026 loolu ma ngeen may ma tuuti ma wax ko ci wolof parce que liñ nar mooy sàcca élection yi 2026 te du fi amati yàgg na ngeen ko wax du fi amati li ngeen def 2021 fa la am jeex na du fi amati li moo toog fii di baaku ne dina am 75% mooy téeméer bu nekk moom da ci am juróom-ñaari fukk ak juróom du am Barrow xam na ne élection bu demee yoon ci réew mi fii élection bu jub bu set du mun a gagné moom xam na ko tiitaange yëpp ci loolu la loolu jël fitam parce que xam nañ li ñu def ñu ragal ñoom fii seen cabinet secteur mu fi toogoon mu ne suñ UDP gagné woon 2021 ñoom dañu leen a tëj daal Ibrahima Cissé.
yeah.
ak ku si que comme Sada Ba ba tey suñ cité ñaar fii te ñoo xam prison loolu la wax fii mu ne su UDP gagné ñoom dañ leen tëj parce que xam nañ li ñu def moom moo ko wax. same thing kenn si xelu ko leen. parce que xam nañ li ñu sàcc 2021 ak before
Ibrahima Silla itam.
Ibrahima Silla toog moom itam mu ne ñun xam nañ li ñu def élection su jeexee. nit da am na ñu bëri ñu toog di rëccul tax naka lañ toogee ba lii saagaan ba lii am waaye fi nekk duñ saagaanati de 2021 du ñaareel doo leen fi mën a sàccati élection doo leen gañeeti duñ leen bàyyi ngeen sàcc fii élection soo mun ngeen a def lu leen neex génn ci biir joxe ID cards waaye doo leen fi sàccati élection jeex na loolu da leen óor IEC bu bees bi ngeen tànn nii ñu ngeen ñaan yàlla ñoom ñu jub buñ jubee def élection ni mu waree li ñoo seetu na am parce que loolu leen mën a gañee fii waaye su IEC bugg a indi njublaan ci réew mi fii lañ ñoo fekk waaye foog nañ ne xëy na ñu dañ jub di bii yoon ñu nekk heroes again waaye suñ buggee jublaan fii lañ ñoo fekk so na leen óor ne sàcca moom jeex na ci réew mi
li war a weesoo gars yi nañ xam ne on the spot counting
yes
buñ saanee karta ñu
compté ko ci saasi
ñu announce results jarut mu jël ñetti fan IEC di téye results
jarut ñetti waxtu sax
waru koo def so ñun li ñoo wax gars yi rek mooy insist leen on the spot counting bu leen nangu ballot yi dem fenn fi ngeen saanee seen karta nañ ko compter foofu ñu taabuleet ko jox ñu results yi su ko defee ñëpp balaa IEC di announce results yi sax dina fekk social media ñëpp xam nañ kan moo gañ loolu mooy Senegalese model loolu mooy modèle yi Botswana bi di recent one loolu mooy modèle yi Ghana itam insist leen ne élection bi na free na fair na transparent pour ku gagné mu mun a rule dëkk bi ci kaw loi ak ci kaw dëgga
ak ci dal te boo seetee li xew yi nga wax noonu Sénégal Botswana Ghana yi loolu mooy xew fu nekk ci àdduna si foo xam ne daal dañ jiital jub nga xam ne seen élection si jub moo ko lalu fu nekk ci àdduna si noonu loolooy xew te looloo xew fii ma sembe itam te loolooy continuer ci réew mi itam loolu na leen óor duñ fi mën a defati li ñu defoon 2021 kenn du fi rëccooti ne sàcc nañ elections so li ñoo wax doomi Gambie bi rek doomi réew mi jël leen seen carte ku amul sa carte su temps bi jotee damal jëli carte koo xam ne amuloo woon carte bi foo oo you are under age léegi si élection bi ñëw di nga am fukki at ak juróom-ñett wala sa carte dafa réer dam leen uti seen carte yéen ñëpp ngeen dem sànni carte boo leen sànnoon nag mënuñ ci dara waaye boo leen sànni carte ba pare kenn du sàccati seen carte kenn du sàccati seen élection so mil man carte o soto because man sañitani se soto non follow sa yi beta carte o ñinin e carte o fay min dal ko la carte o filtale e ta yi kutamal ñinin e ka ko dindi na jodon pour ya dile e ta ya ke ya carte ko tol soto ata carte o fay nal ma fay man kuno woto bar nale carte o fay ite ka ñele jam côté ke carte suñu ko la côté ke batam ba ko kañantal de no lom fay nga bay nga dang na yimba sakunda kurmo jindi ma sakunda beto sama namba ko mo bela ñaan to so yimba ko ka
yalong dafa am ku amee lifin placard démba ci gaala lifin
gaala demonstration
mu ne mbuuru $12 la
yeah.
mu ne yéen da ngeen soxor
that's 20% increase
20% increase
yes
waaye li ma bëgg a lifin rek mooy Touré Kunda yi si Dabo Kunda yi Baro Kunda yi
ak Dramé yeeg Jawara yeeg
ñoo nekk di jooy loolu dëkk bi dafa naxari ba nga xam ne nit ñaa ngi jooy njëgi mbuur
waaw mu go
it's a 20% increase in the price of bread
yes
so man to conclude this thing li ma bëgg a wax rek mooy soo gisee suñ lopitaan yi amuñ garab amuñ sufficient doctor yu bari ak nurse yu bari ak anesthesiologist yu bari corruption bi ñoo wax ni la moom la soo gisee school si nekk di daanu xale yi duñ mun a pass exam niñ ko daan passé it's because corruption la xaalis bi dugga ci dëkk bi kenn du xam fan la xaalis boobu di dem kero am na ku ma yónni message mu ne World Bank to date World Bank dugal nañ fi $173.33 million for the health sector alone 173.3 million for the health sector soo demee ci lopitaan yi doo gis dara education the same thing comme li nga ko waxee nawet the same thing yoon yi moom kenn du ko wax so agriculture moo gën a garaaw man I think this year léegi dañ war a declare state of emergency because taw wi lifinut noonu
li taw yi ñëwagut waaye ñi nga xam ne daaw ñi nga xam ne seen gerte jaay nañ ko ba tey am na ñoo xam ne feeguñ leen maa ngi àndoon ak Mr Dabo ak Yangs Dabo ñu demoon Bakalari 3 weeks ago am na fa ñoo xam ne ba tey feeyuñ leen beneen nawet ba door na naweti daaw bi gerte biñ ji kenn feegu leen ko loolu mooy lan
ministre bi ne dañ war a tuur deret yow mënuloo fay sa fa
exactly so koy jegal agriculture ñu am seen dund
nga naan tuur deret
da ngay tuur deret
anyway mandinkoolu nte lafta aliye mellon doro wala mu ñinti ko ñin carte fay naa la al kana son ñin election o e suuña al be banna election o e suuña ñaamen wala mu carte o fayta damen ay kasabi je na kasabita result o e announce je nkana son alla carte boxol ye sambat blat carte o fayta dama ay kasabi je mol be a lonko carte o fayta jenne ñina carrière ñine soto carrière ñine soto result o secondly nin carte o fayta am IC mañana sila fotili saba ima result ol bonde hani montro wati saba result ol mañana o kela na ni ko be carte boxol sambala dulato dron suñarole bije ndin IC sita modan men tambita montro wati fula saba la ima result o fo dron ibe suñarol mol si wolom buta tutanto lebulu fombe sonna yenna election o suña ko ya suña ñamen 2021 fo ba suña la wonya 2026
ate suña la la
bankobe dama mandia
yes be soro jaw bale
ni ikamen fo suwa kanto party leader la ta ñomi Sénégal bije hani bi la etio men sene serum hani bi ni masakunda me jono andum banko kam dula ko tangol fanam bije ninga line o soto janga elen ko momo imejo nkumandi jang telefono siring fay jono
telefono fo be crash la laba
so momen be okay kan alla jaral dulal man betea karambungul man betea agriculture man betea silolu man betea courant man betea jio man betea airport man fem man betea bebe sirim baji be nga foko alale yake de bari mfamol fanan dabe alale yake to
alale yake ka sababu ken tollete ala be ka jina na carte o fay aka din tolle ko carte o fay ay o sembo din tolle la ko sababu le bala ala ka sababu le ko be hana jong yana be fala si courant de fala wala sababu so wo sababu le bije so sababu bun tolle be bala na carte suñala nduwata suñala carton e kam fa sport counting carte fa sedawde ba kontila jereto an na resource ñol soto coalition center yen fa sedawde ba do ngana mol ko daga min bije ya soto e ka suñala ko coalition center la yen fa sedawde ba tan to ngana mol ko man la fakaba o fa nante kala ko tege ko suñalo banta ñem banko kanne e ka ñen ID card bin di ba donc ate auto fond tout ce qu'elle ali pare dron carte o ñini mi masoto ya ñini ngata carte o fay ñi ma sakunda ntolle nga sindi 2016 yon tolle la victory suña 2021 2026 tolle bala suña lo nga ma sakunda faleng pulo mi jato city wala ka firing 2026 anyi jato firing nga bulayta kata kama kata mu jato atle Jammeh sin boy
munante jato firing na batula city
nga fere do man
nga fere do nga lafta na kudal lewol bi jen sama boje
baraka
okay ala baraka good
jërëjëf ñu leen sant di leen gërëm yéen ñëpp ci seen déglu bu rafet bi next week inshallah ñu wax leen ne dañ fi del si bu soobee yàlla next week again di leen dig ne dañ fi ñëwaat ok jërëjëf ñu yendoo jàmm yal na leen yàlla yow ko xéewal ak sutura yal na yàlla sàmm réew mi ak doomi réew mi alma banko kantalama bolo yimbara jawo kono ayalo nimara beto kan momo isi yeli nyanto soto dami alma banko ni banko dum be sutura la man tankara man hijabula Allah baraka
okay